Good morning, Greene County. Good morning. So today we have Tim Smith. He used to be our. You can't hear me. He led our Leadership Academy class that restarted this year. He's going to come up and talk a little bit about the class, and then I have some class participants who are going to talk about their experience. So please welcome Tim Smith.
You know, the dreaded live participants. I don't know what to make of that. So how many of you are familiar with the Leadership Academy? Yeah, most everybody. It's a really neat thing that the County Commission has started that again. We had it going before we got too poor to do it anymore, but now life's better, I hope, at Greene County. It sure looks like it is on paper, in your smiling faces. So this last year's academy, the way it works is there are 24 people in the academy. Everything's made to encourage people to get to know one another. So if you sign up, we randomly choose the classes, quasi-randomly. I chose them. I just made sure there was nobody from the same office on the same team because we have 24 folks. We have 6 teams of 4. So that becomes your team. And I hope you got, well, let's see, we got green team here, blue, red, purple. We're just missing orange. Go ahead. We need to get Tyler down here. No, we don't have yellow here, do we? Right. So those are our team colors. And it always amazed me that once the people have their pattern set, they always sit at the same table. I guess that means you're stable. I don't know. Anyway, so the Leadership Academy it's a very simple idea, but a real powerful idea. And that is, in an organization, particularly an organization as large and diverse as Greene County, the more you know about everything the county does, the more you know about what other people do, the more resilient organization you have and a stronger organization you have. Because I'm sure some of these folks will tell you they had no idea. There was a few cases where you go, I had no idea they did all that. Because once you get into any organization or office in the county, people do an incredible amount of work. And the other thing that stands out is people are dedicated to their work. And so in the academy, we have 12 sessions. At every session, we go over a different function of the county. So the first one is the general history of the county, how the county was formed, all the various things like that. The second one is on the budget, and then we go through the offices, the sheriff, courts, juvenile, down to every office in the county. And we have a presentation on what they do, what their function is. And then we tour every facility in the county. So we talk about them, you get to go see them. Everybody got to tour the jail. Everybody got to tour the highway department. We didn't go to juvenile, did we, Julie? We went to the new, Leadership Academy, which is in the old, still to me, new jail, which kind of dates me. That's one component of the class. The second component of the class is we teach the great game of business, which happily has 12 chapters and we have 12 sessions. I think he planned it that way, I'm not sure. But you might ask, why do we do the great game of business? I guess you really wouldn't ask that if you're here. But regardless of the financial aspects, the great game of business teaches a lot about leadership and teamwork. And that's one of the things we want to teach in the academy. So for those who've attended the academy, the things that I would like to hear the best is, one, it was worth my time because it takes a lot of time. The classes we had them on Thursdays this year, 4 hours from 8:30 to 12:30. So I hope they thought it was worth their time. I would hope that they learned a lot, that they would say that about the county, that they enjoyed meeting other people from the county, and most of all, that it was fun, because this isn't intended to be a drudgery. It's supposed to be fun. In order to make it even more fun, we injected points. So each team competes for points, and there's a prize at the end. Individuals also compete for a prize. And this year, the winners got a $100 gift certificate, and the second place team got a $50 gift certificate, each member. And the top two individuals got those things. So how do you win? After each topic is presented, we had a quiz, because I really like quizzes. That makes sure that you listen, and also it gives you a second chance to see, well, did this stick? And one of the things I loved in the class was listen to the teams. The teams work together on the quizzes, and just hear all the chatter going on while the teams worked on their quizzes. So there was a quiz for each county topic, each great game topic, and so however many points you scored on the quiz, you got those. In order to encourage attendance, you got 10 points for every time you attended. We started giving extra points for Huddle attendance on the reporting Huddle once a month. We won't get into extra points here. And then finally, we gave points for what we called introductions. So this was to make sure not only did you get to know people on your team, but you got to know other people in the class as well. And so at the beginning of each class, we would have our introduction time, and we would take a question, some sort of harmless question, but we'd get everybody talking, like, what was your first car? And we would say, okay, go find somebody you haven't introduced before. And so say that was Kat and Teresa, they would say, well, you're from the same office. But they would tell each other about their first car. And then Teresa would introduce Kat and say her first car was, and tell them who she is and which office she is. And one of the funnest things for me was to listen to the chatter during the introductions. Folks really got into them. I'd usually have to say, stop talking now, do the introductions, but it was really great. So just those simple things is what the class was about. If you're interested in the class, there is a waiting list right now for next year's class. I might say that there is a committee of seven actually, composed of team members from last year who are the planning committee for next year. The schedule for the committee has yet to be, or for the class has yet to be determined. But if you're interested, contact either Commissioner Dixon or Cindy Stein, and with the permission of your office holder or department head, ask to be put on the list. So that's kind of an overview. Are there any questions anybody might have? Good. Okay, so now Jared is going to have testimonials. Here he is. Okay. Oh, so we'll do this like introductions.
Oh, okay. Our other comrades left us. That's okay.
Right. He never even volunteered.
Well, I'm Teresa White. I went to the public administrator's office, and it was a great 12-week class. We had a lot of fun. We got to know each other. We found out what people's superpower would be. Could they have that? Some of them were quite shocking. But I will say we made friendships in that class that will continue forever. We want a reunion. We don't want to let them go. I would recommend that every office send 2 if they can, because Kat and I made so many contacts. It makes my job so much easier to know I can email Dave at the sheriff's office and say, how do I do this? Or I can call Brian's office and say, who do I bother for this? Or it's just so much easier when you know these people and you can put a face with them to do your job, and you appreciate what everybody else does so much more after being there with them, touring the office, seeing what they do. So it's well worth the time spent. It doesn't seem like 4 hours unless you're arguing with Tim over how he worded a question on the quiz. There should have been extra points for that, but he did a great job. We all loved it, and it's kind of sad to see it go.
Well, I'm Malin from Human Resources, and I had a slight advantage coming into the class because, oh, I'm sorry, microphone. Being from HR, we already had the opportunity to interact with a lot of the departments. We have a little bit more knowledge about what some of the departments do because it's part of our job to do that. All these people have received emails from me at some point. Maybe they've talked to me on the phone, but it was really great to just get to be with employees in that setting and watch the friendships be built and watch them learn about all the other departments. Because I'm telling you, I get to see it. We get very siloed sometimes, and they have no idea what everybody else does. And I always say, I work in HR, but it's like HR for 14 to 16 different businesses here at the county. And they really got to see that experience. And another thing I would tout is that I thought something fell.
Yeah.
My I love HR pin. We can't let that be gone, guys. Another thing I would tout is that don't be afraid of a busy schedule keeping you from participating in the class. I think a lot of people would be hesitant to sign up because it is a lot of time, but everybody in that class had a heavy workload. It took them away from their work, but it was well worth it. So do not hesitate to participate because of that.
I earned the moniker Juvenile Julie during the class. So I'm from the juvenile office. I am not a juvenile. Right. Let's see. It's worth your time. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And whatever else Tim said. I agree with all of it. So I had about 20 years in corporate America before I came here, and there are silos there, but pretty much the whole business is kind of supporting the rest of the business. So you really are involved with one another. And so coming into the public sector, it was kind of interesting to see an organization that could be so siloed and so independent in what they were doing. And so I know one of the key takeaways for me was just getting to know all of the different departments, because we're unique in the public sector in that we are all serving the community, but we are also serving one another. And so getting to know the passion that everyone has for the work they do, and remembering that it's really hard sometimes serving the public, and it's really up to us to support one another and cheer one another on. And so to be there and be able to say thank you to all the different departments for what they do is really important. And the next time, something happens with, a road or something, I'll know who to thank. And I think that that's something we really need to do and be very intentional about. So that was one of my key takeaways. I'll stand up here.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. I'm just kidding. I mean, it was fun. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, everyone's talking about how you're siloed, and I'm Kat Burgess. I'm a deputy from the public administrator's office. Very few people know what we do. They're like, "Oh, you're secretary for the county." It's like, no, it's not what we do. But this was a really good opportunity to teach other people in the county what we did, and also see what other people were doing. And then we made those connections, and it feels like we're not just working for the county, but we're working together within the county. And that is really big, because I didn't know about the youth academy before. There's a lot of things different departments are doing for our county as well as other counties surrounding, because we're so good at what we do. And I think that was pretty cool to talk about. It was fun. I had a blast. It was worth my time. Heavy workloads, definitely. But I think it's definitely something you need to check out if you're interested, and you won't regret it. So.
Well, first of all, Tim is very entertaining, to say the least. And then he puts his own twist on things. One thing I really loved about the class was that Tim had that perspective from years ago when the county was in serious financial.
That's what we're going to say when the county was formed.
There we go, for example. And so we got to hear about just how difficult it was. And some of you were here and saw some of that. And it gave us an appreciation for where the county used to be compared to where it is now, financial, and not just financially, with regards to how people interact with one another and how the business is run. So we got that. That was really valuable. And then we got to know personalities. Jeremy Lynn is a hoot, and he's got story after story after story, and he's such a nice person on top of that, and that's just one example. I learned how to rate donuts from David Johnson. The donut matrix is what he called it. I'd never heard of that before. So that was a very important thing. You need to include that in the next class too. And it was already mentioned, but I'll say it again, and it has to do with getting to know people directly, one-on-one, does open that door up. You feel like you can just talk to anybody, anytime, call them, text them, whatever it takes. And we got their phone numbers too. So it's easy to contact them, and they're right. It makes everything easier if you're trying to get something done, when you feel comfortable getting a hold of someone else. So a lot of other reasons, but the class well worth it. And the Great Game of Business is worth it too. And I think the thing that came out there was, it's a great leadership book. Wonderful leadership principles throughout that book. Even if you didn't have anything else, it's got that. So it's a class about leadership, of course. And I think it's well worth it, well worth your time. And it sure has helped me, and is continuing to help me, because as I continue to try to put into practice those principles that Tim so carefully tried to teach us.
So Jared said I could have rebuttal time. Just in case, didn't you? Okay, just in case I need it. No, just one quick thing. It's been such a pleasure to get to know the people that were in the class. But as I was saying the other day when they graduated, as you see everybody tell about what they do, and you see how dedicated people are to their jobs, which most of our jobs here at the county are kind of thankless. And the public many times doesn't hold us in very high esteem, and that's hard to put up with every day. And I always say, after knowing people and seeing what everybody does, if every citizen of this county could come here and see up close all the effort that's put out every day without even asking for reward, they would be very proud of all of you. So thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have some time. Tim? You're not getting off that easily.
Okay.
You remember the days when this started with the Great Game of Government?
Yeah.
Do you remember that we looked at each other after Jack came and talked to the county? And do you remember that we looked at each other and said, that'll never work for the county?
It was going to be a tough hill to climb.
Yeah. It was going to be tough. It was going to be challenging. But anything worthwhile takes effort. And Tim and the 24 attendees of the Leadership Academy found that to be true. And yet it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It can be fun. It can be challenging, and it can be fun at the same time. That's what we see about the Great Game of Government, in that we have financial literacy. We learn what that means. We learn to communicate with others, and we tear down those silos. And what a greater complement of putting those two things together. The Leadership Academy that Tim developed from ground zero, tying it in with the Great Game of Government. And you all in the audience and those that are tuning in remotely are our leaders. Everyone in the room and everyone online are our leaders. And so, you've heard the testimonials. Jared is in my office. He's kind of soft-spoken. He doesn't really like to get into the mic. But everybody benefits. And then that permeates back to your office. So you probably are only, sorry to contradict, but you're probably only going to have one member from your office. If you're lucky, you get two, because we've got so many departments. But that person's representing your office and they bring those principles back to your office and share. And Jared would do that, and you all would do that to your office. You would bring back, hey, this is what we learned at leadership this week. And this is some of the things we can do in our office. I'm going to put you guys on the spot again. What are some of the takeaways that you got from the class that you then put into practice, that you then took back to your office? Jared, you got one? Okay.
In the Great Game, there's a chapter that Jack talks about. He calls it "You Gotta Wanna," and it's one of Cindy's favorite. I don't know what he calls them.
Higher laws. Okay.
And that's something that I've kind of brought back to my office. Is, there's some tasks in the day that you kind of try to push off and you don't want to do, and eventually you have to do them. And taking Jack's principles, you just got to put in the effort and do the work, and it's rewarding at the end of the day.
Thank you, Jared. And for those online, I'll kind of restate that a little bit. So Jared's favorite was the higher law, you gotta wanna. And, don't put off what you can do today. Don't put it off for tomorrow, because you gotta wanna, you gotta get it done. You gotta be inspired by that. What about you all? And if you want to come up and speak into the mic, that'd be great, or I can restate it for those online.
Here, I'll come say something.
That'd be great.
I will restate it. Oh, it's on too.
Yes.
I think a huge takeaway, and it's not just one specific point, but you kind of get the whole generalization from the Great Game of Business and the class, is that it's not really even about the leader. It's not the leader who makes all these things happen. It's the team. And it's the leader empowering the team, building up the team, giving them the resources and the knowledge that they need. And so that's why I think when Cindy was saying anyone can be a leader, it doesn't matter what position you're in. And that really shines through in the Great Game. And it's about how we all work together as a team. It's not about our individual contributions. And I think that's a huge takeaway from the class. Mhm. Yeah. I nailed it.
Thank you, Maylin. I know that is something that we really talk a lot about here at the county, is everyone's a leader. It does not matter what your title or your position, everyone is a leader. Do any of you others have some takeaways? Okay, you're going to have to talk.
Oh, I'm not going to top it. One thing. No, you're up next. One thing that's really important that we learned in the class is how important it is to listen carefully. In other words, you should spend most of your time as a leader listening to what people around you have got to say, all those people you're working with. And after you've listened carefully, you're going to learn a lot of things you didn't know before about how they actually do their job, and how what you do affects them, whether it's negative or positive. So listen carefully so that you'll know what they're doing. And then after you've done that, you need to let them know, help them, assist them in understanding how important what they do is to the entire business. Because every single one of you here is critical. You're performing a critical task every day, and what you do really matters. And so one of the things we're supposed to do is to make sure that you know that you understand that, and not only understand it, but you have the ability to determine how you go about doing that job, and a good way to measure how well you're doing that job. And that's kind of an ultimate goal. I'd say that's a work in progress for all of us, all the time. So it's one of the things that Tim taught us there. That I'm trying to put in practice.
Thank you, Brian. The best part of communication is listening, and you just hit it on the head.
So another concept in the Great Game is kind of open book management, which applies, I think, more easily to a business, maybe necessarily than to what we do. But Tim and the team did a good job of kind of applying that to the work we do. And a lot of that is being really transparent in decision making. And I think that goes not only for our team members, but also for the public we serve. I mean, our end product is a healthy, strong, vibrant community. And I think part of, I know what we're trying to do at the juvenile office is just be very open in how we make decisions and why we make decisions for our team, but also for the people that we serve. So that was a big part.
Thank you, Julie. Teresa or Kat, do you have some feedback of what you took back to the public administrator's office? You like transparency. Yeah, like transparency. We're going to wrap it up. Commissioner Dixon or Commissioner McLaughlin, do you have any final words that you'd like to say to the team?
I would just say bravo to everybody that participated and to Tim. And I don't know exactly when, but I'm excited about the possibility of having a couple of seats for citizens who do not work for the county. To the point that was made about how people don't know what we do. We need some cheerleaders out there in the community.
Yes, so thank you for those words, Commissioner. And it would be exciting that we have participation from the citizenry to help understand because, you know, as our great game coach, Rhonda Alexander Chapman says, you know, once she got on our campus and realized everything we did, she became one of our biggest cheerleaders and she's out in the public because now she recognizes the work that you all do every single day. So thank you very much. I appreciate your attention and we will see you next week.